This group of videos is all about the Vegetable Orchestra and is brought to you by Artsmark. Hi, I'm Matt from SoCo Music Project. Today I'm going to be showing you some of the basics of the Vegetable Orchestra, taking you through the equipment that you need to get started, demonstrating some of the instruments that you can make, and also giving you some tips on how to run it as a workshop. The Vegetable Orchestra is a really fun and creative activity that can be tailored for lots of different settings and with lots of different groups of people. Here at SoCo, we've run it at music festivals, in schools, we've delivered it in community events, and also as a staff session for CPD. It can be run as an open activity or as a very specific closed workshop. It's a great way to encourage people to do some creative thinking and to really put their mind into how you can manipulate materials and how you can create sounds. So coming up, I'm going to be showing you how to make 3 different instruments. 2 of them are really simple, one is a bit more technical. It's really important that you allow experimentation because there isn't really a wrong way to make a vegetable instrument. What's key is that you give people that discovery time, and quite often we've found some incredible, weird and wonderful instruments being made during the workshops. So give people space to be creative and don't be too prescriptive. I'll be going through all the equipment that you'll need shortly, but normally within the workshop, before I do that, I introduce some instruments that traditionally are made out of vegetables or organic material. And I do that because it's a really good opportunity to break the ice and also allows people to start thinking about the instruments that they're going to make from vegetables. Here are a few items that I introduce to people that are instruments that are made from vegetables. So first up, we have a berimbau. This is from Brazil and it's a percussion instrument that's used within capoeira, and it's played by a stick hitting a metal wire. And it's this item here, it's a gourd, which is like a pumpkin, and that's used to amplify the sound. I like to have a set of panpipes. So historically, these would be made from bamboo. This set is made from plastic, and these are from South America. I also like to have some kind of shaker or percussion instruments. So I have here, this is a big seed pod that has been dried out, and this is a little shaker set using nutshells, and these are both from Africa. I also like to have some kind of whistle, and this is really, you'll see why this is useful in one of the videos when we're making a whistle from carrots. And this just allows people to see how it's constructed and how it's put together. So next up, I like to talk a little bit about the vegetables that we have. So often we have an array of vegetables, and again, as part of the activity, we can ask people to identify what the vegetables are, because sometimes we might use some quite unusual stuff. Today, we're mostly going to be using some of the basic sort of core veg for the Vegetable Orchestra, and this is what I've got today. So as far as veg goes, the carrot is probably one of the most important ones for Vegetable Orchestra. We're going to be making whistles, and it's important that you've got a good selection of carrots, thicker the better, make sure they're quite fresh. You don't want them if they're sort of a few days old and getting a bit soft. We also use potatoes. Now these are important, and it's best to get big ones because you're going to be sort of chopping them up. So the bigger the better. Baking potatoes generally are good. We also use peppers. They're quite common, they look great, and we use those for shakers. I'll be talking you through a pepper shaker a bit later. And then also we have spring onions, we use celery, and then also here today we've got some courgettes. But really it's about using your imagination and experimenting. So we have in the past made things from butternut squashes, parsnips, pumpkins, melons, really anything. You can create something. And so yeah, have a good array of vegetables and then let people use their imagination. So the next important thing with the Vegetable Orchestra is the equipment that we use. And when I run it as a workshop, I will talk through all the different bits of equipment that we have. And it's also important at this point to talk a little bit about health and safety. So within the Vegetable Orchestra, some of the main tools that we use these cork borers. There are some alternatives that you can use for instead of these, but these are effectively thin metal tubes that are incremental in size. So what it means is you can make holes and tubes that are slightly bigger than each other. They're really useful for putting holes through vegetables. They're quite safe to use, although they are sharp on the top. So when we're talking to people about using them, we make sure that they are not doing it like that, but putting it on a table and pushing down. You'll see those in action a bit later. As an alternative to those, you can actually use these corers. These are much more inexpensive, and you can see here this is a little set that are, again, there's an incremental size difference. It's very useful to have those different sizes. We also, within the Vegetable Orchestra, often we're using drills. This is a particularly big drill. We don't let participants use these. And it's just useful if you've got a long vegetable and you want to get a hole all the way through it. A borer doesn't really work so well, so sometimes we use these. It's just a standard battery drill, and these are just specialist long drill bits. It's really important to have some good knives. Now, depending on who you're doing the workshop with, it depends on how much access the participants will have to knives. So we have worked in the past with family groups, and then we've ensured that the parents are monitoring the use of knives. And if we're working with younger children, then we'll do all of the knife work ourselves. It's useful to have some spoons or ice cream scoops. Sometimes you're scooping stuff out of vegetables, so it's good to have some of those. And as well as that, it's important to have something to put all of the vegetable waste in. So we use washing up tubs. They're just really useful. You can scrape stuff in, you can use it to put all the waste in, and then it's all collected together. We also make sure we have chopping boards, we have wipes and paper towels, bin bags, and then also quite important is this tape. This is just standard gaffer tape or duct tape. It's just useful for holding things together. Once we've made it through to the end of the workshop, we like to make sure that every participant has an instrument to play with. Now, there are some really quick things that I'll show you in a bit that you can knock out at the end if you need some spares. And then it's time for the grand finale, which is the Vegetable Orchestra performance. You can do that with any number. Obviously, the more participants you've got, then the bigger impact, but it can work really well even with a small group. It's always fun to add a little bit of theatre to the Vegetable Orchestra, so make sure you spend a little bit of time organising your musicians. Have a carrot section, put some peppers together, give them a bit of time to tune up. And what I like to do is I like to call out a vegetable, and then the musicians with that vegetable play on their own. Everyone else is quiet. And then so throughout the performance, it gives everyone the opportunity to show off. Make sure that you keep it fun and light, and that everyone knows that they're just going to be improvising and there isn't a wrong way to perform. For the performance, I like to tap out a simple rhythm. I usually use the berimbau that I showed you earlier. And it's about everyone finding a pulse. And you will find that people will just naturally join in, and everyone can be part of that performance. It's really fun when you pick out certain instruments for their solos, and then make sure you have a big finish, get everyone to speed up, and a big crescendo to finish it all off.